Hi guys, it's Fentony. The news we've been waiting for so long is here. Game of Thrones will not be ending after season 7 or 8. Well, technically it's not Game of Thrones, we don't know what it is, but HBO will be doing 4 spin-offs after season 8. Before we get into all the details, just be careful for spoilers for everything on Game of Thrones so far. We don't know when these spin-offs are coming out, but it seems like HBO has already set the wheels in motion. They've already booked 4 writers. I'm not going to pretend I know who these writers are, to be honest, but the films they've been attached to are pretty good, so that's 2 thumbs up for me. At South by Southwest, Dan and Dave did say they'll not be involved and they wanted a new vision for the series. But it's been reported they are attached to the series. Perhaps they'll just be consulting the writers. I know Dan and Dave get some stick for some of the stories they've done and how some of their stories are unfaithful to the books. But the really big point is, George R. R. Martin is going to be involved too. And the writers have been told they're going to get the time they need. But will it start in 2019, which would be a year after season 8? I don't know how long these are going to be, if they'll be full seasons, like 10 episodes, and then another 10 or another 10, or they'll be smaller than Game of Thrones, and only be a few episodes, and then it ends after a season, and then we move on to the next one. I do like speculating, but then they're speculating on another level. In the past, HBO has said they prefer to do a prequel than a sequel to Game of Thrones. It'd be nice to go into the past and deal with stories in a different time, and there's a lot of possibilities here. Robert's Rebellion could possibly be a spin-off. It's more than likely, to be honest. A lot of the important scenes are very important to Game of Thrones, such as the tourney at Harrenhal and all that to do with Rhaegar and Lyanna. Is that going to be taken out of Game of Thrones and put into the prequel? But would that hurt season 7 and 8? We need to know more about Rhaegar and we need to know more about Lyanna. All this stuff is so important to the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Apart from Robert's Rebellion, an almost guaranteed one must be the Tales of Dunk and Egg. Game of Thrones is all about high stakes war, dragons, White Walkers, magic, all that crazy stuff. I know a lot of casual fans will be like, where's the dragons? Where's the White Walkers? What's this? George is not finished with the Dunk and Egg series yet, so perhaps we might see some of the new stuff. It would also be a nice way to introduce people to the series. So if that's 2 very likely prequels, what about the other 2? Could we possibly see Aegon's Conquest? It is kind of similar to what we've seen with Daenerys and what we will see in the future in season 7 and 8, but it's going to be epic. Perhaps even more epic. There's not going to be any White Walkers or anything like that, but seeing Aegon and his 2 sisters on 3 dragons, and then finally the creation of the Iron Throne would be pretty sweet. I do like Aegon's Conquest as a new series. It might be too similar to what we've seen with Daenerys, but it's dragons, Targaryens, big battles, and violence. There's a couple stories I'd like to see fill the 4th slot. You could go down the Blackfire route. Again, we're fighting over the Iron Throne, but this time it's a Targaryen civil war. Let's not shut the door because it doesn't have dragons. I know Daenerys is very important to Game of Thrones, and with Jon Snow and possibly a 3rd Targaryen, we might get a bit sick of them, but I think this could work. And my next choice, and a lot of you guys know what this is going to be, is probably going to be the most epic one of them all, and that'll be The Dance of the Dragons, another Targaryen civil war, but this time there's multiple dragons and multiple dragon riders. 3 dragons are pretty epic, and the budget for the dragons is pretty epic itself. So imagine all these dragons with all these riders fighting each other. Oh, that sounds good. Imagine the CGI bill though. But we might get sick of dragons. But dragons fighting each other is something we've not seen yet on Game of Thrones. But then again, most of these stories revolve around Targaryens and dragons and civil wars. Perhaps stories beyond the wall, in Essos, in other parts of Westeros. Let's not restrict ourselves to Targaryens and dragons. You can almost guarantee that Dunk and Egg and Robert's Rebellion will get done. I know Robert's Rebellion's only set a few years before Game of Thrones. They did say they want to go in the past, and a prequel is more likely than a sequel, but a sequel might be on the cards here. I'm not going to speculate too much in this video, as we don't know any really important details yet. We just know HBO is working on multiple stories with 4 writers. We knew this was coming, but it's still good to hear it confirmed. I was getting a bit worried that after season 8 my channel would just drop off a cliff. I really enjoyed making these videos and I want to continue. So what spin-offs would you like to see? I can imagine you'll mention the same ones I've mentioned, and they're the pretty obvious ones. I would appreciate it if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.